Welcome to the Bella Vista Gardening Program. I'm Jerry Horner, and joining me today is Fran Zimmerman. She's a fellow member of the Bella Vista Garden Club, and Fran's also our chairman of our plant sale that's coming up in a couple days as we tape this. And today we'll be talking about upcoming gardening events and also about the garden walk that the Bella Vista Garden Club is putting on this year. And we'll also talk about what we need to do in our garden in May. So we have a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
And Fran is, like I said, is our chairman of the plant sale, which is happening on May 3rd at Village Wastewater, at the Village Wastewater Company off 71. And if you're watching this program on the 3rd of May or before, you can still get to the plant sale. And if not, you haven't lost your opportunity to buy plants. They'll still be available at the Wastewater Company from Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. You just check at the office, but the plants will stay there, and you can still purchase them at the wastewater plant. So, but we have a lot of plants at the sale this year, and it's going to be a wonderful sale. So, and there's a lot of things going on in May. It's one of the busiest months because all this planting and cleaning up and everything. And Compton Gardens is holding their plant sale on May 10th. It's the Saturday after ours. So May 10th, they're having their plant sale. And they have a lot of native plants.
Yes, if you're into natives, that's a wonderful sale.
Oh, it's a wonderful sale.
We'll have some at ours, too. But
a few.
They have a lot.
But they really concentrate from the plants at Compton and concentrate on native plants. It's a wonderful plant sale. And then at Compton Gardens, starting at June 16th, there's going to be wonderful traveling exhibit, and I think we have a picture of the one of the drawings. But anyway, Linda Williams Palmer's collection of photographs and drawings of the Arkansas champion trees is going to be at Compton. And Compton Garden has 2 state trees on the property, and 2 state champion trees, and that is really quite an accomplishment for one garden to have 2 of those trees. And I think we have a photograph of the, just a sample of her drawings. Each drawing of the tree was done all across the state by Linda, and this traveling exhibit is going to be really something to see. There was an AETN program on, was it Channel 13, I think it is, and they showed some of her drawings. Please don't miss this wonderful opportunity to see this exhibit. It's going to be from June 16th, and I think it's through July 17th, and it's going to be a wonderful exhibit. And also don't forget Compton Gardens and Crystal Bridge's trails. They lead into each other, and this is a wonderful time of year to go through those trails. Every week there's something else blooming.
Oh, yes.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
It's great. So the main reason we're here today is talk about the garden walk. Now, the garden walk is usually held every other year by the Bella Vista Garden Club, and I think we missed last year because the weather was so bad the year, the winter before, the summer before, and everybody worried about their plants being not
But we
showable.
have a wonderful lineup for this year.
For this year, it's going to be great. We originally looked at the gardens in June last year, and we looked at a lot of gardens. And this is the flyer that look for this flyer out in the community. We're going to be posting this, and we have 6 wonderful gardens, and we have 1 nursery, the Village Garden and Landscape. And then we also, something new, we're having lunch at Metfield. You can purchase lunch. We have hot dogs and chips and so forth. There's going to be a Master Gardener table there with, you can ask the Master Gardeners questions. And also one of our members, let's see, Mary O'Brien is going to have her display. She does concrete.
Yes, she does concrete containers, and they're just so unique.
And ornaments for the garden she does. Just things to put in your garden that are just so different. You know? So she's going to have some of her samples there and kind of show you how to do it and how to make these little concrete additions to your garden. And then I will have some other things there too, just a lot of information. But we did take some pictures after we chose the gardens. We took some pictures of the gardens in the fall. Now, these aren't pictures at their peak in the summer.
This isn't
but-
exactly what you'll see because flowers are blooming at different times.
Right, but these were some of the pictures we took of just some, one little section of each garden.
And this one is on London Drive, and Barb and Jim have done a wonderful job. In fact, this garden was voted the 2010 Garden of the Year.
Yeah, the
It's
POA Garden of the Year
Right,
Award.
it has a charming Cape Cod home with a picket fence, and it's rightly called the Boxwood House. You'll wander through the yard with its curving paths that lead to charming vignettes with abundant flora.
Oh yeah, it's just full of boxwoods are just beautiful, and she's got so many wonderful things in there. This is the one that's on Morganshire. This is a rare sight in Bella Vista because the street has curbs and it's flat, and it has underground utilities. But the Millers were able to make their utility box disappear with this wonderful landscape. So it's just been quite a challenge
Yes.
to cover all those
And
boxes.
Everyone has a utility box in their yard in
Just
Bella
about,
Vista,
just
so
about.
it's really nice to be able to see how
just hide it.
this couple hid it through
And then the
landscaping.
back of the garden is just beautiful also. This is on Ashcroft Lane. I think this is Nina's house on Ashcroft.
Yes, and there are charming pathways all throughout the yard. They meander from casual gardens to more formal ones. And there's a fenced-in vegetable garden that has a large rain gathering system. I think that sounds
It
fascinating.
is really interesting to see.
And then they have a special place for their grandchildren to play. You have to look up
And to play
see
and
it.
hide. It might be back there by that little canoe-like thing. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly where that
Is
was.
it a treehouse?
No, it's not a tree house. It's just some place they can go hide and play hide and seek.
Oh, that's a lure to Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Yes. Now this one is on Wrighton Circle, and Susan Strong is one of our members,
Yes.
and she is also a master gardener, and she has got one of the most beautiful gardens. It's behind this fence is one of the most impressive raised bed vegetable garden that you will see.
Yes.
And it's if you continue to walk through the yard, the gardens just flow from one to another, and then she's got a potting shed under the deck. You have
Yes.
to go see that.
I have been out there, and I was impressed with that potting shed.
Yeah.
When she retired, she said, I'm going to devote myself to gardening. It's become her avocation.
And she certainly has. It's just charming. And then her fence, she's got these antique tools and shovels and things that she's restored,
Yes.
and sealed with polyurethane
Old
and all.
plows and things like
and
that.
she's got all this wonderful decor in the garden that really makes it interesting. So now this is a garden on Dogwood Drive, and it's one of our members, Beth Castle. And like I said, this was taken in the fall, so don't think that this is what you'll see. But she looks over the 14th green at the Highlands, the Country Club, at the Country Club golf course. So she just you perch on the backyard and you can watch the golfers play, and the stream just flows below. And then on the front she has unique mounds with trees and shrubs and perennials, and it gives privacy to the front yard. But
I
the
thought that
back
was
is-
particularly interesting in Best Yard because we struggle with how to give ourselves some of that privacy. And
Yes.
with her berms from there, it's a wonderful idea.
It just really blocks her from the street.
Yeah.
And then in the back is just, an oasis back there that she's created, looking out on the golf course. It must
This is
be.
the one. This is the house on Melanie Drive. It has a delightful metal tree filled
Yeah.
with birdhouses on the north wall of the house.
And then when you step through the arbor, you'll find a restful garden with roses and a variety of vegetation. So it's really quite a unique garden that she's created. That we
There's
took.
also some more. One of our members is the proprietor of Village Garden and Landscaping on Trafalgar, and he is a garden club member and the go-to guy for gardening questions. And he is planning specials throughout the day for people who go on the walk.
Right, he's going to have really wonderful opportunities to purchase plants at great prices, and I'm not sure if he'll even have raffles, or he always does something special at the nursery when we have our garden walks, and he's just been a wonderful member, and he's just so generous with his plants and his knowledge. So, but the Medfield thing is when we're really going to be showcasing the garden club and what we do.
Yes.
And you can get more information about the garden club and Master Gardeners.
And munch on a hot dog.
Yeah, and we have wonderful hot dogs we're going to be grilling, and I think there's a couple of the gardens where the parking may be a little bit of a problem because some places in Bella Vista is not a place to park, and we will have some golf carts to assist people, getting to the houses if there's a area where it's not easy to park, or you have to park a long distance away.
Right.
So we'll have that.
I think Morganshire is one of those locations.
Could be, yeah. And one of those, there's a couple of them, I think. So anyway, it's going to be a wonderful garden tour. The tickets are $10 in advance, and you can purchase them at Arvest Bank at the Town Center, and you can also
Highlands
purchase
Gates.
at Highlands Gates. And if there's a couple numbers you can call me at 855-0203, and I have tickets.
And they can also go to Village Garden and Landscaping there on Trafalgar and buy tickets there.
Right, so.
But on the day of the event, you can also buy tickets. They are $12 on the day of the event, so it costs a little bit more.
And so you can save a little bit if you buy them early.
You might wonder where that money is going for, and it is actually going to be put to use for horticultural scholarships and garden therapy for residents at Concordia and Brookfield. And we have many beautification projects around the community too. We maintain a portion of the Bella Vista Cemetery. We do the Blue Star Memorial at the Visitor Center, and also the Veterans Wall of Honor.
Yeah, we do all the annuals at the Veterans Wall. And the Blue Star Memorial Garden is really a wonderful memorial garden to our veterans.
Yes.
There's Blue Star memorials all across the state, well, I guess all across the country.
Yes.
So but the garden club, the Arkansas Federation of Garden Club, is very active in getting the Blue Star memorials placed around the state to honor our veterans. So that's a wonderful garden.
Yes.
So we get a lot of comments when people come in to the Visitor Center, and they always comment about that beautiful garden.
Well, the people who maintain it go out there regularly.
Yes.
And we know that that's the key to keeping your gardens looking okay. Not let it take over.
Right. And so I guess we should talk about what we need to do in our gardens for the month of May.
Yes. Did you like how I led right in?
Right. You're really smooth.
Yeah.
But there's so much to do in May. I'm just up to my elbows getting leaves out and trying to figure out what I have to move from place to place.
And especially if you've planned to work in April, and the days that you plan to work in April were cold and rainy, then you really have to play some catch up.
Right.
But anyhow, if the work you do in May, you'll be glad about later in the season.
Oh yeah, you'll reap your rewards later. But the annuals is a time to be planting annuals. Now, you may have to be bringing them in the early part of the month of May in the garage, because we've still got some cool nights, early part of May, and I don't really plant my annuals till, maybe mid-May.
Right.
Because, you put them out there and they're not going to do anything, and then if you get a really bad frost, you have to go out and cover them or whatever. So,
what about those little granules you can get that hold water?
The polymers, they're wonderful for container plants. If you put those little polymers in, they're like little pieces of rock salt. And then when the water, they get wet, they swell up like a little chunk of Jell-O.
Right. Usually,
and that keeps the moisture in the pot.
Right.
You don't have to water as often.
Sometimes they're called moisture pellets or moisture granules.
And they're available at every garden center, I think. They're very helpful with containers, so you don't have to water sometimes 2 times a day in August or so.
Right. Now, another thing about the nighttime temperatures can affect herbs too. So it's best to wait until the nighttime temperatures are 50 degrees or above. to put your herbs in.
Especially basil.
Especially basil. Basil is pretty...
It's touchy. That.
I will say that parsley doesn't really care.
No, no, parsley.
It stayed in my butterfly garden for even into the winter.
And it does winter
yes.
over. The only thing you have to watch with parsley, if it winters over for the next season, it'll what do they call it, a burst, or, you know, it starts putting out seeds and you know, flowers.
And you'll have parsley all over.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, you know, it'll bolt. It's called bolting. So when those leaves bolt, you know, then it's time to replace
Right.
that plant. So.
And make sure you plant your herbs in full sun if you can.
And they can take a little afternoon shade.
Yeah.
Especially in this August temperatures, but
But
they
what-
like sun.
What about the bulbs that are sort of, the flowers are kind of dying down now?
Well, the daffodils were wonderful this year, and the
Yes.
tulips, the bulbs were just fantastic. They must have loved that cold winter that we had, but they're just really put on a show this year. But you really need to leave those leaves on the plant and let them die back until they just turn brown, because that just feeds that bulb for the next year. That's where
Yes.
that's where the flower's going to be, is in that bulb. And if you cut that off early, you're not going to have very good flowers next year. So you have to leave the leaves on at least 6 to 8 weeks after they bloom. Some people braid them, and that cuts down on the photosynthesis. So I just leave them in the garden, and some things kind of grow up around them. They're not that visible.
Right. I know one thing I need to do is go out and scratch in some bone meal around
Right.
around my bulbs.
After they bloom, it's good to give them the bone meal to boost that nourishment for next year. So, and you can plant those caladiums and cannas and elephant ears. Those bulbs can be planted in the ground probably after the middle of May, when that ground is a little bit warmer. If you plant them early, they're just going to sit there. They're not going to do anything. So it's best to plant them when it gets a little warmer.
Now, if you have perennials in your garden, and that's always a good idea to have a mix of perennials and annuals so
Yes.
you have continued color, now is a good time to not only plant them, but also divide and mulch as you go.
Yeah, because perennials really do like the mulch.
Right.
It keeps the moisture in.
And I have to say, I know this from experience, it's a very good idea to label your plants as you plant them, because or you will have a lot of Bella Vista moments and you can't remember what they are.
That's right. So, and then, you know, some of the perennials will die back in the winter, and you don't know they're there. And you know, if you try to plant something in the fall when a plant has disappeared for the season, you're trying to plant a plant on top of a plant.
Right. So it's good to have those labels.
It's good to have the labels. And the lawns are really growing right now. They're starting to green up, and they're going to take off pretty soon with this warmer weather coming up. So you want to mow the grass no more than 1/3 of the height. You want to take off more than 1/3. And in Bermuda, you can apply the second pre-emergence. We had the first pre-emergence probably a month ago or so, but they're saying that if you do two applications of pre-emergence, maybe a little less.
For crabgrass.
Yeah, for the crabgrass and weeds.
So it takes two swipes through.
They're doing 2 now instead of 1 real strong application. They're breaking it down into 2, and it gets those later seeds not to develop. So, and you want to do that between May 15th and June 15th. And then fescue, you want to fertilize with nitrogen, but you really need to take a soil test. If you put too much nitrogen on a fescue lawn, you can get that brown patch. That's one of the contributors to brown patch, is too much nitrogen. So, you know, apply your fertilizer based on what you need, and get your soil test from the extension office. It's free. You know, you can go down and get your soil test down there. So,
now roses. If you have roses, this is a good time to watch for aphids and fungus. In the early morning, go out there with your pistol end on your hose and give them a good hard spray in the early morning, and that'll do a job on the aphids.
yeah, you can take them right off with
Right,
that hose.
right, and it will give the plant time to dry off before dark,
Right.
because that's where the fungus comes in. If
Right.
if it's wet, if you water your roses at night or something, and it gets on the leaves, then you're really inviting some fungus problems. fertilize established roses because they are heavy feeders. They really need that fertilizer. And be sure the plants are watered before applying the fertilizer so you don't burn the roots.
Yeah. Because a lot of people make that mistake, go out and just, oh, my roses need water, but I'm going to fertilize, and they just dump that fertilizer
Right.
on a dry plant, and it's too much for the roots.
Right.
They need to be moist before that fertilizer hits.
And not just a little bit of water either. Make sure
Yeah.
that you have watered them deeply so that, especially if we don't get at least 1 inch of rain in the week.
Yeah, they need a lot of water and a lot of food. So, and trees and shrubs, you can prune your spring flowering shrubs like your azaleas and rhododendrons. You can prune them after they bloom. So be sure that you wait in the bloom, and then you can also fertilize your azaleas and rhododendrons after they bloom. That's a good time to put some acid-loving fertilizer down. And newly planted trees and shrubs should be monitor that water and make sure that they are watered through the season. I always use that probe. You know, I'm always a big fan of that moisture probe. You put it in the ground, you can see how much moisture's in there, especially like your hydrangeas and your, you know, they wilt during the day, and it looks like they need water, but they don't. But they just naturally wilt during the day when it's hot. And if you put that probe in there, you'll see they have plenty of water. So that probe is really important when you're wondering if they really need water or not.
I think I should get one of those.
Yeah, they're just very helpful for the
Right.
plants. So
Now, let's not forget about vegetables. And May is a good time to plant bush beans, pole beans, and lima beans, and also cucumbers, eggplants, peppers, squash, and tomatoes, kind of the mainstays of our
Yeah.
vegetable garden. If you mulch around the tomatoes plants, it not only helps to choke out the weeds and conserve water, but it'll really help keep the tomatoes from splitting and cracking, or help at least.
yeah, when you get so much water at one time on a tomato, when it's at a certain point of growth, it'll just the skin will split. So
Right.
you know, you have to, you know, they want equal water, but they won't want a whole lot of water at all the time at one time. So.
So just water is needed, those vegetables, and then fertilize is needed
And
too.
of course, Wastewater has wonderful tomatoes at their sale.
Yes.
Along with our sale, you know, the Bella Vista Garden Club sale on May 3rd is also the
Oh, yes.
wastewater plant sale. They have-
Their tomatoes have been growing in that greenhouse, and
and some have
they're-
flowers,
yes.
and some have fruit starting already. So they're
So you
just
get a head
wonderful.
start.
Yeah. And then when you plant your tomatoes, you want to take the lower leaves off and plant them as deep as you possibly can, because as you plant that tomato, if you just leave about 4 or 6 or 8 leaves on the top and you plant that stem, it'll root all the way down that stem. So you'll have all this root system down there instead of just a little bit of a root system.
Right, so you plant it
So you
deep.
plant it as deep as you can when you plant your tomato plants. So when you buy these little ones from some of the box stores or what, and they're like 3 inches tall, and you plant them 2 inches deep, you know, you're going to have a small root system. But at Wastewater, the plants are already about 2 foot high.
Oh, yeah.
And you can plant them 1 foot into the ground and you have all these wonderful roots. So you're going to have a good base for your tomato plant. So, and if you have any other questions about gardening in May, remember the Master Gardener hotline is up, and it's available on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12 and from 1 to 4. So if you just call 271-1060, you'll get a Master Gardener, or you'll have a Master Gardener call you back. I think they're trying a new system this year where instead of all the Master Gardeners coming into the Extension office and answering calls, they're having some Master Gardeners on call. So when you call in and leave a message that you have a problem or whatever, then a Master Gardener will call you back. And they can do that from home or from another location. So it's just a little more flexible. So, but you will get called back, and you will be able to talk to a Master Gardener if you call that hotline. And it should run now from, I think it started April, probably through October. But it's a wonderful thing to have a Master Gardener, you know, give you the information you need. And then for more information on the Garden Club, you can go to the BellaVistaGardenClub.com, our website. We have a lot of information on there.
gardening tips as
And a lot of
well.
gardening tips and like drought-tolerant plants.
Organic.
Organic gardening. I think Tony has a 26-page summary all about organic gardening.
Yes.
So it's a wonderful resource.
26-page summary.
Right. But there's just a lot of, you can go on and on about organic gardening, and
Yes.
it's quite interesting to read all of that. And we are going to redesign our website over the summer, so in the fall we'll have a little bit different design. We're hoping to make it even more user-friendly and,
Yes,
and more
good.
information. So, and our garden club meetings have ended for the season. We've had our last meeting now, and we'll be picking up in September.
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesday.
The third.
Fourth Wednesday
of the
month. So we'll have more information about that at later programs. So, but we're kind of finalizing our garden club year as far as meetings, and now we'll just be working in our gardens and doing the garden walk, and we have our luncheon in June, and then pick up again in September. So I want to thank you, Fran, for joining us today.
It was fun.
And always sharing your information about the garden walk and the gardening knowledge.
Thank you.
You always add a lot of information for us. So,
Okay.
And I hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll tune in again next month. And until then, don't forget to stop and smell the roses.